Good morning. I'm the Reverend Rachael, minister of the Unitarian Universalist Society of Amherst. I use she, her pronouns. Welcome to you, old friends and new, young and old, in the Zoom and in the sanctuary. You are an essential part of our celebration today. Whether today is your first or your 1000th Sunday in our midst, we are stronger because you are with us. We are one people of many beliefs, many origins, sexualities, and genders. We are all growing, all learning, all loved. Just as you are welcome here. Today, we are talking about how we know what we know, searching for gems of goodness. So you might be thinking if you've witnessed some goodness lately, and hearing from February's dedicated offering organization. We will also have a time of spoken joys and sorrows. You may notice that I take my mask off to speak and then put it on again to sing. I took a COVID test this morning, like every week. Our congregation has made the choice to prioritize the vulnerable rather than the comfortable with our masking policy. It's part of how we take care of one another. Our opening words this morning were written by Matthew Johnson. For 5,000 years or more than 15,000 generations, human beings have been invoking spiritual power. My predecessors and yours have gathered together to make sense of their lives and their place in the cosmos, and they have spoken aloud and invited what they conceived as sacred and powerful to be with them. They called upon the spirits of air and earth, fire and water. They called the bear and deer. They asked for the raven to protect them. They pleaded for the heroes of old to slay the monsters of their fears. They sang songs they learned from their grandparents and moved in the appointed ways, or in ways that were new, but felt like the right thing to do. And they imputed power to these spirits and to the memories of those heroes. They called them gods, and they were invoked. Vishnu and Kali, Elohim, Odin, and a million others, every group of people everywhere. They gathered to make sense of their lives and to make sense of their place in the cosmos. And they called these spirits to be present to them. And so do we. So do we. We gather this morning to make sense of ourselves and this universe in which we live as best we are able. And we call ourselves to worship together, and we invoke the power and wonder of life itself, that to which all those spirits of animals and memories of heroes pointed the way. We invoke that power, which is, we know, always around, always with us, but which we sometimes forget about. We forget that we are part of the whole of creation. We forget that we are stardust. We forget that we are capable of miracles, first among them, that we can love. We forget these things, so we invoke the power of existence so that we can remember, so we can lift our eyes and open our ears to the true and beautiful. For 5,000 years or more, we have done this. In many tongues, in many ways, we have done this. And so, we continue that ancient tradition in our way and in our time. And so let us now worship together. I invite you to say the chalice lighting words with me this morning. We light this flame to invite a world of peace where we heal the wounds, where we share what we have with one another, where justice is another word for relationship, and we listen for what love has to say. I invite you to rise, maybe in body, but certainly in spirit, to sing our opening hymn, Bright Morning Stars. We're going to need this one too. Yeah. So does anybody remember what this is about? Yeah. Gems of Goodness. Okay, Maya, do you want to remind us how Gems of Goodness works?
spend the next few months talking about stories from around the world that teach important lessons. Each week we will share what good deeds we have seen or done too. After each good deed we share, we will put a gem in this jar.
Thank you. Okay, so we're coming to that time. Think of all you have seen and done in the last week. Does anybody have a gem of goodness you would like to share with the congregation? This is open to kids and adults, by the way, because I think we can all be on the lookout for goodness and try to do goodness. Maya, come on up.
Yesterday I was making Valentines for my class.
Oh, yeah, nice. Okay, do you want to put a gem in the jar? Nice. Okay, who else has seen a gem of goodness? Aaliyah, what have you seen?
Yesterday my mom let me have a donut.
Oh, I think you have a really good mom. Did you want to put a gem in the jar for the donut? Nice. Well, now you're on the spot to be the good mom. Okay. Yeah, come on up.
Yesterday, my two kids and I were going to do a roller skating lesson, and we ran into our friend Zaya there, and everybody was doing this for the first time, and they really helped each other and supported each other and skated together, and were really encouraging in this very beautiful way.
Ooh, thank you. Yeah, come on up, Adar.
I made Valentine's to my kids yesterday too.
Oh, you did? Awesome. Why don't you put a gem in the jar for that? Yeah. Zaya, what about you?
Same as Sophie.
Same as Sophie. Nice. Yeah. Okay. Does anybody else want to share a gem of goodness with us this morning? Oh, here comes Gordon. Nice.
Yesterday we heard a talk at Applewood by a young assistant professor of mathematics at the university who was teaching math in the Hampshire County Jail and had been doing this in several locations in her academic career from graduate student on. And she was very energetic and very inspiring, and we came away feeling much better about the world.
Awesome. Gordon, do you want to put a gem in the jar? You might want to put 2 gems for that one because she was interacting with our incarcerated friends and bringing them company and intellectual stimulation, and she gave a great talk at Applewood, so I think that's worth 2 gems. Awesome. So now I have one more question, and this is for people who shared and people who didn't. How did we learn that those good things were good? I know, that's a big question to throw at you all of a sudden. I hear there might be some thoughts in that corner. Does anybody want to share?
I just said the donut tasted good.
The donut tasted good, right? You could experience that it was pleasurable, right? It was probably really delicious. Adar, what do you think? It's nice, and do you think it shows that that you care about people? Is that Yeah? Yeah. What do you think, Maya? Yeah, you're not just caring about people, you're showing that you care. And they probably feel loved and special. Yeah? So, one of the ways that I learned things were good was that somebody I trusted, like my mom or my dad or my teacher, told me so, right? That they said, oh, it is really wonderful when you help, which is why I really like to hear Sophie's gem of goodness, because she saw a group of people learning something for the first time and being generous and cooperative with one another. And then she told us, right? And it's helpful to hear from the experience of others as well as our own inspiration. And Maya gave us a hint earlier that sometimes we learn things are good from studying stories that have come down through generations and generations and generations. And I wonder what you're going to learn in Moral Tales today. It's going to be exciting. So, am I doing the Today in RE, or are you? It might be me, because I'm putting you on the spot, which might not be very good of me in this instance. So, our religious education class is going to go downstairs with Allison and Yael and talk about a folk tale from Scotland, is that correct? Thereabouts. And spend some time thinking about what that means. And do you need to take the gems with you? Okay. So let us all sing to our religious education class as they go downstairs.
Go in beauty, peace be with you, till we meet in our hearts in the light. Go in beauty, peace be with you, till we meet in our hearts in the light.
How do you know what you know? How did you get your culture? How did you learn to be a person living in the world? My father bakes pretty good biscuits from scratch. He began by watching his mother, my Grandma Hayes, learning before he even realized it, knowing that when we got the yellow bowl down, it was time for biscuits. He consulted recipes that were written down when he started making his own biscuits, especially the one in the torn and splattered gingham Better Homes and Gardens cookbook that has seen him through most of his adulthood. And then he made batch after batch, noticing what happens when the butter temperature or the type of milk is different. And he ate biscuits. And when I was home, I got to eat biscuits too. It wasn't the bachelor living class he took in high school. It was his mother, his cookbook, and his own experience. That is how he learned to make the biscuits that represent all biscuits to me. How did you get your culture? What are the stories that made you who you are? What food would you swear you need that contains vitamin home? I ask myself these questions a lot, and I think of the people who poured their spirit into me, who raised me on biscuits and gravy, beans and cornbread. I think of how I was taught to make meaning with the Bible, which turned into this deep yearning for justice you hear me talk about most weeks. I think of the way the hills feel just right to me in Kentucky. And the hills fit together the same way in a backwater part of County Galway, Ireland, where one of my family lines leads. The ancestor who crossed the ocean never made it to Kentucky. How did his descendants find land that felt the same? We have more ways of knowing than Western academic learning. Geologic study of those hills will tell you that Ireland and Appalachia were once part of the same mountain range, but that's not why my ancestors settled there. It wasn't a book that told them to stop, and it wasn't a book that told them to stay. Even after colonizers settled further and farther inland, my family stayed in Western Kentucky. What do you know without being taught? What have you learned outside of formal education that you know to be true? Was it a story that helped you understand the world? Was it learning about wild plants in your own backyard? Stories and experiences and relationships are as much a part of how we understand our lives as reason, instruction, and external order. Yesterday, I made my way through the cold to the Eastern Woodlands Social Dance, an open celebration of Indigenous culture. I heard from Abenaki and Nipmuc elders and youth, and Nipmuc culture bearer Andre Strong Bearheart led us in dances that his ancestors have danced in this place since the beginning of time, to learn with our voices and our feet how to live into relationship with one another and our beloved earth. There are brilliant books about these things, but when we dance and sing, we learn them together. We learn how to be the relationships, not just think about them. We have emerged from the darkest part of winter, the time when we can see longer daylight and shorter nights. We have made it through this vicious cold snap this weekend into a warmer day. We feel the year turning, the wisdom we get from our ancestors and from the world around us becomes part of our lives. Spirit of life, mystery, and experience, let us be open to our ancestors' wisdom. Let us be open to the world of our experience. Let us strengthen the ties of relationship, of love that lead us home. Amen, and blessed be. I invite you to keep a meditative seat to sing one of the most beautiful hymns in our hymnals, Rising Green.
Seminario. I'm a member of the Dedicated Offering Committee. The February recipient is the Okateo Cultural Center. It's located in Ashfield. It is a place where Indigenous people can grow and can thrive, where they can learn more about their culture, pass it on to the youths and the whole community. Today, we are honored to have Rhonda Anderson as our speaker, and she will tell us more about Okateo. She is very sorry she cannot be here in person, but thanks to the wonders of electronics, he will be with us on the screen. And if you would like more information about Okateo, just go to okateo.org. Thank you.
Pagalagivsi uvaluluatak nupiak sinaga alak tanak sinaga nagaga aliga Rhonda Anderson pangmapak anu ranga korenami Shavaktunga, Western Massachusetts Commissioner on Indian Affairs me, and co-director and founder of Okateo Cultural Center me. Welcome and good afternoon. My name is Rhonda Anderson. I am a Inupiaq Athabascan from Alaska, and I just greeted you traditionally in my Inupiaq language. I have lived most of my life in Western Massachusetts, and the land that I'm privileged to steward and live on in Coleraine is the historical homelands of Sokoke, Abenaki, Nipmuc, the Pecumtuck, and the contemporarily present nations of Nipmuc, Abenaki, and Mohican. I happen to live on the Pecumagong watershed, which is known as the Green River today. I am completely honored to be here virtually with you all and humbled that Okateo Cultural Center was thought of to highlight our work. So Kuya Nakpak, thank you very much, Unitarian Universalist Society of Amherst, for having me here today. I hope that you're warm and you made it through the cold blast. I love the weather, so I'm very excited. So about Okateo. Okateo is the only Indigenous center that was founded and run by Indigenous peoples for Indigenous communities, really in all of central and western Massachusetts. We serve an estimated 50,000 Native people in the state, and we operate out of a generously donated space in rural Ashfield, Massachusetts. We are also, I'm very excited to say, recognized by the Mass DPH, the Department of Public Health, and Health Resources in Action as tribal and Indigenous persons serving organization. We strive to reduce vaccine hesitancy and boost our vaccine rates within our Indigenous community. What else? Okateo means a place to plant and grow in the Nipmuc language. And our work focuses on uplifting the voices of Native people and dismantling unjust frameworks, replacing them with equity, dignity, and wellness. We share our stories and our cultures so that others may know our experiences and know that they are authentic, they are current, and impactful. Okateo itself is the epitome of a grassroots, community-based effort. Since 2017, as co-directors, we have worked tirelessly and often without compensation to upend the extinction narrative of Indigenous peoples across the country, across the continent. We have strengthened connections with other Indigenous communities, educational and cultural institutions, public health organizations, and perhaps even most importantly, is the Indigenous individuals looking for a place to learn, develop their talents. And by being in that rural setting, it is full of indigeneity, and they can be free to discover who they are truly meant to be. We now have 10 people living at Okateo Cultural Center. We have resident artists, we have a cultural educator, and we have an artist apprentice that are living on site. We also use our platform and place as educators to undermine harmful narratives, stereotypes, and biases about Indigenous people and our cultures. We illuminate the work of artists, the struggles of our ancestors. We illuminate culture bearers, and as activists to expand the non-Native audience's worldviews, honestly. We reject negative portrayals and assumptions of Native communities. And in doing so, as activists locally, we push all people to do better. For example, I have developed and curated and moderated our essential educational multi-part series, The Living Presence of Our History, which utilizes panels of Indigenous experts, scholars, elders, storytellers, culture keepers, tribal citizens, and representatives to address these Indigenous issues like mascots, cultural appropriation, Indigenous Peoples Day, the Land Back movement, murdered and missing Indigenous women, girls, and Two-Spirit, and other salient concerns of contemporary Native communities. These discussions educate others on the contemporariness of our existence and our needs as Indigenous people. It also offers a way to help and be allies and accomplices in our struggles. I also want to give my sincerest gratitude to Double Edge Theater. Talking about allies, Double Edge is a fiscal sponsor of Okateo, and they have really proven itself to be a critical accomplice and partner in our work. They have demonstrated integrity and dedication to their art, their living culture, and art justice mission that they have put in place by entering into a land share agreement with Okateo, providing space, much needed resources, and administrative and programmatic support. And we have also entered an influential land back, land use, and land tenure agreement that offers a model of equity, accessibility, and reparations for others to use across the Commonwealth and indeed even across the continent, right? I'm going to wrap up here. I know you have a busy day ahead of you. I'm sure it's a gorgeous warm day. I have also sent a video that features our co-director, Larry Spotted Crow Man, singing a healing song and sending a prayer. And I hope that you'll be able to watch it. I'm sorry that I'm not able to play it on this platform. While watching that, remember that Okateo means to plant and to grow. And your generosity and your support helps Okateo live up to its name and grow. So Kuya Nakpak, thank you very much. Unitarian Universalist Society of Amherst, Kuya Naknalag Nagipsi, thank you so much for listening. Tavra, thank you.
So after that, wow, that was just incredibly emotional. So thank you, Rhonda. Each week we practice, is this on? There it is. We join a practice of building a better world and community, and we collect an offering and we split it with another organization. And this month is Okateo, and it helps us remember that we can't make the world a better place on our own. Half the money we collect, this money, as I said, will go to Okateo. The other half will go for us to continue to grow. Please give generously today in the basket, by text, by check, or through our website. Was everything I said heard? Because I don't know. Good. Thank you.
Each of us carries sorrows and are lifted by joys along this path of life. We honor these joys and sorrows in community by speaking them aloud to one another and by holding them in silence in our hearts. Come into this time of compassion. Open your heart. A tune weaves under this moment. I invite anyone bearing joy or sorrow this morning to come forward and light a candle. If you wish, you may speak into the microphone. Please keep your mask on to speak unless you took a COVID test before joining us today. After we hear the joys and sorrows in the sanctuary, Zoom attendees, please raise your hand and we'll hear from you as well. We'll call on you, ask you to unmute. We will also light candles for the joys and sorrows in the chat. I light our first candle this morning for those who had a rough time in this cold weekend and in solidarity with our Indigenous neighbors.
Jessica Murphy. And before I light a candle of joy and celebration, I'd like to invite any members here today of the 2 ministerial search committees that helped to find our beloved Reverend Rachel to come up. I don't think there's any more. Are we missing any?
We depended on the work of the first search committee.
Yeah. Oh, and Steve is up here with us in spirit. Steve Rice. Reverend Rachel is so special that it took 2 rounds of search committees to find her. So today we light a candle of joy for Reverend Rachel, who is now officially in full ministerial fellowship. Yay! This is a significant milestone for a minister, and we're honored to be part of her journey. And so congratulations, Reverend Rachel, and thank you for your leadership and guidance. I want to say the flowers were sustainably grown and hand-picked. And so in the spirit of love that we're all celebrating. So.
Nipiam, Nina Hok and Kanto Chok Kesachek. Niuchiayim, Nohog, Ninawak. Greetings. My name is Larry Spotted Crow Man from the Nipmuc Nation and also co-director of the Okiteo Cultural Center. And I want to welcome you to our homelands, our place of birth, that we have been here for generations and generations. I just want to say to everybody, it's been a hard time. It's been a very painful time for the world. And so when we reflect on all this pain that the world has experienced, we need to now reflect how we can heal together as one world. And so I want to share this offering, this prayer, that all of us can heal together in the same way that we had suffered. And it's important to remember that music, dance, our creative spirit still engenders that creative instinct within us to heal. And so I would like to say some words in my language to send us on that healing path. And we say, "Wun nashayan tu manatu tabatning, wutu chicken nisin okumis tabatning wuchi sapasu, wusikate huana, notas ni manantiok, king nuta yio pentaminok, and a male niniwan me quantam kichiak, ka mata wanantam, ka nagutie kokutam niniwan, manatu." Thank you.
Meditative seat, I invite you to join me for a reflection hymn, "There is a Love."
There is a love
I invite you to rise in body and spirit, place your hands over your heart, or reach out to someone near you as we sing our closing song. Go in peace.